All I can say is that I'm glad I'm done watching Gladiator 2. 24 years later, and you have a sequel to one of the most iconic movies about the Roman Empire, with director Ridley Scott returning. Gladiator 1 is about Maximus, played by Russell Crowe, who is a strong general of the Roman army. So much so that the Emperor of Rome, Marcus Aurelius, wants him to take over. Sounds pretty normal, but here's the problem. Aurelius has a son and a daughter. The daughter, Lucilia, doesn't really care about taking over the throne, but his son Commodus, played by Joker, wants to take it over. Commodus finds out that his dad's giving the throne to Maximus, and he actually kills his own father! Commodus takes over Rome, where he enslaves Maximus, forcing him to be a gladiator as he has to fight back for his freedom. A bunch of cool shit happens, leaving us to the final fight, which I hate to give spoilers, but it will be needed. Maximus and Commodus fight to the death, where Maximus is injected with poison from Commodus, and he's left very weak, but he doesn't want to go out without a fight. And so, Maximus slices Commodus in the throat with a knife. But spoilers, they both die. However, Maximus gets to reunite with his family, and it's an amazing 2000s ending. Point is, to watch the first movie over the second one. Now, Mr. Scott cooked with the first one, but as of recently, he's lost his way with the sauce. Gladiator 2 has some promise, and you have a very stacked cast. You have Pedro Pascal, Paul Mescal, Denzel Washington, Connie Nielsen, and Joseph Quinn. How can this go wrong? One thing that was standing in the way of this film was the strike. Back in November of last year, Variety reported that in December, Gladiator 2 was going to resume production after not filming since July. Excuse me, a 5-month production break? And you have less than a year to film one of the biggest movies ever? Yeah, that just sounds like a hot mess. I think this did a better job than other films with handling the awkward gap between the strike. However, you can still feel the inconsistencies in this film. Now that can be one of two things. My boy Ridley is known for making 4 or 5 hour cuts of movies, which ultimately need to be cut down for theaters. Maybe Scott was not able to show his full vision, but realistically, the combination of Scott and the strike makes this film fall short of the first. Which I hate to compare, but why make a sequel to a film that ends so well when you're not going to make the next one better? In the new film, we have our lead Paul Mescal, named Lucius, who is the general of the North African army. He has a wife but not a kid, and he's fighting the Roman army led by Pedro Pascal's character, Marcus Acacius. The Romans win as usual, and Lucius and his whole army are enslaved by the Roman people, which forces them to be gladiators in the arena. This is the most simple way I'm going to summarize this film without giving away spoilers. Now on paper, this doesn't sound too bad, but the problem is they try to allude to a bunch of things from the first film with a character who should be completely different. Paul Mescal is a great actor, but I don't think the writers knew what they wanted to do with the character Lucius. This is a kid from the first film whose mom's Lucilia, and in the future, he was technically supposed to take over the Roman Empire. But I don't think the writers were planning for a sequel. And just the other day, the IndieWire reported that Ridley Scott originally wanted Paul Atreides to play the character of Lucius. However, he watched the Hulu series Normal People, and he changed his mind. Chalamet and Mescal are very different types of actors, and I think that the character was originally written for a guy like Timothée Chalamet. But Paul Mescal ultimately took the role, and I think it kind of just felt miscasted. And with the writer's strike happening before this film, it's understandable that they didn't want to make a change, because ultimately, if they did rewrite the script, that would delay production significantly. But you know studios, they rush their creators in order to hit deadlines. Mescal can be badass, and he can show some emotion, but the writers want him to be Maximus so bad. Russell Crowe's performance is so legendary that he won Best Actor at the 2001 Oscars. And now, because you're trying to quote-unquote satisfy fans, you shy away from making a good film, and instead you're just making Maximus 2.0. It distracts from the storyline, which feels like shit thrown out the walls, and it hides away from Denzel Washington's character, who has some really interesting things going for him. He's a slave who is now trying to become an emperor of Rome. How interesting is that? The film tries to hide that story for a random twist, which you ultimately don't need in a gladiator movie. You need some good emotion, good action, and some good acting, which this film does have. And it's just replicating the story of the first one, which we just don't need to see. Mescal's a hero, and his rival's just kind of doing his own thing, that the connection between the hero and villain doesn't feel strong, and when they battle at the end, it's kind of disappointing. You can disagree with me, but when did we stop making films so simple? You could try bending the formula, but you're going to be doing too much, and it's just going to be a mess, which is how I viewed my experience. The audience was constantly getting up to piss, and I even did too. And I don't do that during movies. You get lost in those epic moments, which, don't get me wrong, they're epic, but without the emotion and the character connections, it's useless. They definitely don't feel as epic when Maximus is in the arena in the first one. At this point, why even attach the Gladiator name to the film? It's now going to make it a series of films instead of one special story. It's unneeded to say the least, but I'll tell you what I liked about the film. I love Denzel Washington. He's so menacing and he's so powerful when he's on screen that ultimately, why can't he be the main character? He steals the show from Mescal, which is unfortunate because Mescal's our lead. Another thing I really liked about this film was the Colosseum battles. Yeah, not the shark one because the CG looked bad and didn't really impress me, but the other scenes with some good violence and some hand-to-hand combat, I like that stuff. I did not like the opening battle though. I thought the CGI of the boats and the water moving looked really fake and just really took me out of the film. I'm supposed to talk about what I liked. Well, let's see. I liked the music in this film, but that's originally from the first movie. I did not like the use of Pedro Pascal's character, as he felt like he was supposed to be an important character, but ultimately, he's just wasted. Some performances feel phoned in, like Connie Nielsen's character, and she was much better in the first film. Bro just wanted to check. I cannot stand Joseph Quinn. Every film he's in, it makes me want to see him less. I get it, he's supposed to be annoying, but his performance feels like a Dollar Tree Commodus. Can't ever blame the cast in my opinion. It's the studios, because they are the real evil. So fuck Paramount for forcing another sequel down our throats. I'll respect you again when Mission Impossible 8 comes out, because that's one of the few franchises where the sequels get better and better. Gladiator 2 is not bad at all, and I think you'll find some enjoyment, but as a long-awaited sequel, it sucks. If you haven't watched the first film, you're either going to be really confused or like it, and I can't tell, and that's a problem. I still think you should watch it to support the cast and crew, but we don't need a third movie, okay Paramount? We need good films like Wicked, which surprisingly has been doing well financially and critically. And I thought that Gladiator 2 was going to be better, but I think I'm wrong. Anyways, go see some movies, have a good Thanksgiving holiday, and of course, enjoy the ride.